And we are back. Our featured guest tonight is a friend of the show and one of the more popular scientists and psychologists around. He's been quite busy since the last time he was on. His book, You're a Miracle and a Pain in the Ass, dropped last year and was a profound and wonderful read. He was just recently used as a science consultant for the hit Marvel show WandaVision, and he's now got a new show called The Cozy Robot Show that's headed for an incredible year. Here to talk about all things science and his new show is the man known as Science Mike. Please give a warm welcome to Mike McHargue. Mike, welcome back to the show.
David, so good to be back. Thanks for the call. I always love being here, and I love that jacket too. By the way,
thank you. It was actually a Christmas gift from the missus. So
oh, nice.
I thought it was actually more Easter like. So if we were able to actually go somewhere for Easter, if not, I'll probably be wearing it for Easter dinner at home. But it has that Easter feel about it. So a lot has happened since we last spoke. In fact, you were one of the first interviews or guests we had at the start of the pandemic last February. A year on now, how are you holding up?
Oh, gosh, you kind of just learn to exist in this Groundhog Day-esque holding pattern of every day's the same, every day you're at home. We've been really, really strict about not seeing other people. So, I've probably gathered in a backyard 6 times with other people since we last spoke when case numbers were low. And other than that, it's just been me and my family at home all the time. And with that headwind, I'm doing pretty well, learning to, try to work on myself and work on our family dynamics and still try to do work that is meaningful and makes a public impact, all while staying home all the time.
So since the last time you came on, I've seen your videos with Rhett and Link and was kind of shocked when you popped up on their channel. I had no idea. You guys seem to be really good friends. What's the story there? How'd you all meet?
Oh, gosh, we were thinking about making a move to Los Angeles, Jenny and I, my wife, and we came out for kind of an extended vacation with the family to try and see if this would be a fit or not. And we come from the rural South, and so LA would be a big transition. And we met through some mutual friends and had dinner over at their house. We didn't know anything about Rhett and Link as a brand. It's just my wife heard other people with Southern accents in Los Angeles and just hit it off immediately. So we ended up moving to LA and they became just really close friends. Just people we have just lived in and been around and done things together with. And I then discovered that they are this delightful comedy duo, and I got to know their vast library of public work after I got to know them as friends, and I'm glad it worked that way. Otherwise, I would have been too intimidated to act normal around them. They are so talented, and truly delightful people.
So you're one of the only popular scientists we've been able to have on the show to talk about the pandemic. And we value your honesty and approach immensely. So it's a year on in now. In your opinion, how good a job do you think we've done in this country of handling this virus?
We did really badly at every level. We did badly at a government response at the federal, state, and local levels. We did poorly in the response of the business community. When we did poorly in the aggregate of our personal behaviors, and our staggering number of cases, death, and hospitalizations kind of bear that mark, I think we owe our healthcare workers some mental health care for the next decade as they get over the trauma of what it was like to deal with such intense numbers of hospitalization. So I can't really mix words and say America gets high marks in many ways, and especially when it was so clear from a scientific perspective what better alternatives were. We were making people choose between housing and income and responsible behaviors, and then people were fatigued. They had to work to to kind of secure their basic necessities. Businesses had to stay open to avoid defaulting on their ongoing expenses. And the total lack of a coordinated government response meant that people were forced into difficult situations. And then, because they felt hopeless, a lot of people were like, well, I have to be at work all day. I have to be out. I have to be about. I'm not going to just work and not see friends and family. And so you saw this like intensifying pandemic fatigue where our half mitigations were more exhausting than doing nothing or doing the right thing. And we saw that especially in the Thanksgiving to New Year's period when people just kind of gave up and they said, nope, we're doing Thanksgiving, we're doing Christmas, we're doing New Year's holidays. And then we saw that massive surge. Right. So that we've gone through a really frightening time, and things really are getting better. You know, I think the staggering death counts we saw at that, we're seeing better personal compliance. Of course, vaccination. America is going from kind of the worst in the world in responding to COVID-19 to among the best. Our vaccination rates are exceptional. And so we're kind of getting whiplash right now where we've gone from like, will this ever get better, to like, we might have a new normal in just a few months. It's a really big turn.
Is there a country out there you think enacted the right preventative measures to stem the virus?
Sure. There's lots of countries that did really well. South Korea was notable for an exceptional COVID response. Although late starters, Japan made up a lot of ground. New Zealand and Australia did really well. What you saw in those countries was, number one, they took the virus seriously immediately and did total lockdowns. Number two, they understood that societies can't function without economies, and so governments stepped in and did massive stimulus spending to keep economies alive as they were shut down. Three, because people felt supported. People were compliant with the lockdown measures. And four, because they did steep lockdowns, they were able to drop cases fast enough that they had less total time in isolation, so it was more bearable. So in a lot of the countries that did things well, they're having music festivals now, they have concerts, movie theaters are open, shopping malls are open, and when like a COVID case happens, they lock down hard again for 2 weeks because they've looked at the rest of the world and gone, you know what? A 2-week total lockdown is a lot better than a 1.5-year partial lockdown with economic calamity and severe mental health consequences.
It's like what they call a death of 1,000 cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, flu numbers are down significantly. Is that because the same precautions we're now using to curb COVID, the much more infectious coronavirus, are also minimizing the spread of the flu?
Yeah, well, the big takeaway here is that physical distancing and masking are incredible disease control mechanisms. It really grieves me that masks have become such an intense point of political polarization, because who the heck wants cold and flu season to be so severe? You know, they're very inexpensive. They're not very intrusive in our lives. And myself and a lot of scientists and epidemiologists would love to see masking be a regular seasonal thing because it protects lives and protects quality of life.
It's almost as if the wearing of a mask became a scarlet letter of sorts.
It feels like if we would have had a political fight about whether umbrellas were a political statement during a rainy season. Like, nope, umbrellas are just a simple, common sense way to stay dry in the rain.
Makes sense. And I hadn't thought of it that way, but that is very true. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and I want to talk to you about your upcoming projects, a little bit more about the virus and the pandemic, and we'll be right back after this break with Science Mike McHargue.